Now, the WMAL Fisher House Radiothon continues. Please support our wounded warriors and their families by calling in your contribution now. 888-294-8560. That's 888-294-8560.
It's 7:07 on this fourth day. Hello, it's the fourth day of December, Thursday, and it's the Fisher House Radiothon here on WMAL. Thank you so much already for all the donations you've made. 888-294-8560. If you missed it there, let me repeat. We're now sitting at $27,673. Thank you so much for your generosity. Last year we raised over $391,000. And we're hoping to do the same, if not more, by the end of our programming tomorrow at 6 p.m. You know, there's over 100 Fisher Houses now operating around the world. Excuse me, exactly 100 Fisher Houses operating around the world. They're working on 101 now. That means 534,000 military and veteran families have been served. 12.5 million days of free lodging.
Wow.
And that works out to about $650 million in savings to these families since Fisher House first opened their doors in 1990. That's an incredible impact, and it's all because of these private donations made by our listeners at WMAL and around the world.
Incredible. And when we were talking to Michelle Horn earlier this morning, and she said that it costs $10 a night for someone to stay there. So your donation of $10 or $20 is
That's right.
a real impact on their ability to provide for these service members and their families.
And you think about it, listen, we know where so many of these families are coming from. You know, you look at that red-blue map every election year, and you know that a lot of those deep red states are also the states where the young men and women in high school decide that they're going to enlist. They're going to raise their hand and say, yes, I will serve. And then they get injured or something happens that they need care. A lot of times the first stop is Walter Reid right here in Bethesda. That's why I think there's 7 Fisher Houses right there at the Walter Reid campus. And let me tell you something. If you're living in rural Arkansas or Oklahoma, and then suddenly mom and dad have to come stay at, a hotel in Bethesda on Wisconsin, I'm sorry that you don't have that kind of cash in your savings account to pay for that kind of hotel room. And that's what Fisher House is able to do. That's what they're able to do because of your generosity. 888-294-8560. We're going to do a lot more conversation all morning long about Fisher House. There's also, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize we had a guest waiting for us. I apologize.
A good one.
Yes. John Reid, of course, you know him as the nominee for lieutenant governor in Virginia, who sadly ended up on the wrong side of the equation on election night, John, but not because you didn't fight valiantly. Thanks for joining us this morning because, people have a lot of questions about the future for the Republican Party in Virginia right now. Good morning. Thanks for being here on a special day.
No, I'm glad to be here, and we should be in that soul-searching period. One thing about being around statewide politics for a number of years, it goes back to the 80s for me, is there are election mornings where you wake up and you go, what in the heck just happened? We thought we did things the right way. We thought we were, the polling showed that we were tight. We could pull this off. And then it doesn't work out that way. So you've got to do this soul searching. Sometimes that's an indictment of what people did and did not do, what certain groups claimed they were doing, which may not have actually happened behind the scenes. This is a healthy reevaluation that's going to take place over the next couple of weeks. But on the other side of it, Republicans have to get unified because I promise you, when the Democrats arrive in Richmond at the state capitol in January, they are going to jam through every crazy radical idea that Glenn Youngkin stopped. And we've got to be unified to try to point that out and fix it.
Well, listen, you got to see this firsthand. You got to see how the party functions. You got to see how campaigns function, ground game, all that stuff that leads to victory. So from your relatively expert opinion, from that experience, what needs to be done? What kind of leadership needs to happen? Is this a question of cleaning house at the Republican Party of Virginia? You tell me.
I think there are probably some adjustments that need to be made. There's some people who I think, if you suffer a loss like this, they should probably move on and do something else. Mark Peake, who was really good to me, who's a state senator, he stood up for me when other people were dumping all over me. and tried to bring unity to the party. I give him credit for that. And I think, as a sitting state senator, he probably isn't the person that's going to be able to be the flamethrower that we need. So I think you'll see some changes happening at RPV, the Republican Party Virginia headquarters, and they got to figure out where the money's coming from. I mean, the Democrats are just swamping us financially, and that cannot continue.
Yeah, John, as you and I have spoken a couple times in the Fox Green Room, and as you might remember, I'm a recent transplant to Virginia from D.C. I got to enjoy living in a red state for 1 year.
Right.
And then we had this really depressing election night, and I think so much of it, and kind of what you're hinting at a little bit, is it just didn't feel like there was great enthusiasm from the Republican base. And I don't know if it's a ground game issue. I used to work at the RNC, turnout. But what is it going to take? What do you think is the number one thing, if you can point to one thing, that we need to invest in as a party and a party infrastructure to bring, if we have any chance of bringing Virginia back into the red column?
Well, what was interesting to me at the end of the campaign is when you want to see a lot of new faces, right? Not the same folks. Nothing against the people who were with you from the beginning, but you want to see new faces. And as I was traveling the state, I kept looking at my guys like, hey, where are the new people? This is it's nice to have 200 people in a room. It's nice to have 300 people in a room, but I need to see some new faces. And I somehow we didn't galvanize that type of attention. I mean, I did everything I could with every dollar I got. My God, I mean, I look at the money everybody else had and that they spent down to the last dime and think, I'm lucky that I pulled the numbers that I did. But I do think we've got to figure out how we're going to utilize social media in a way that has been successful. I don't think the messaging was necessarily off. Now, Northern Virginia was, because people let me know in no uncertain words with the F word what they thought of Republican policies, which was kind of shocking how vicious some people were. But in other parts of the state, we gotta get people out. And I do think, at the risk of indicting myself, I think I did a great job with what I had, and I am who I am, and I hope people look at my campaign efforts and felt like I was a decent candidate, hopefully a good candidate. But, we should look and say, what's it going to take to get the Trump voters from a year ago to get back in the game? Because clearly a lot of them in certain parts of the state didn't show up. And that hurts my feelings, but let's be honest about it,
Do you have, just when we have a minute left, but do you have anybody in mind that you would like to see step forward and take over the reins for Virginia? Virginia could be a really important, influential state, and I think we saw that over the last several years, especially with Glenn Youngkin's victory and winning, statewide with Jason Miyares as Attorney General, had a national impact on our politics and our conversation. Who do you think should step up and actually take the reins and steer the party in Virginia back to where it needs to be?
There are 4 or 5 people who've been texting me. All of them bring different skills to the table. I think we really need somebody behind the scenes who can put together an organization and start building that organizational structure, which quite frankly doesn't exist. We're still kind of operating as a volunteer organization statewide. And then we need a whole bunch of people, and I'm going to be one of these people, who will go out and fight the good fight in public and try to reach different demographics and bring new people into the state. So I think it's a twofold situation. You have your CEO, and then you got a bunch of folks who are behind the scenes, right, pulling together that hard work.
But it sounds like you're saying that CEO is not necessarily a household name, but just somebody, an operative who knows their stuff and can get things done.
Maybe it's been interesting. The folks who've reached out to me in the last week have said that they're interested in doing it. Some of them are really great.
Just between you and me.
Just between us. Yeah. Come to Williamsburg for the advance this weekend, and you will see them all on parade. I think, Larry, it's going to be a great group. Hey, and put me down for $100 for the Fisher House. You are right there. It's such a great group.
Hey, thanks, John.
To be supportive and helpful. That's
appreciate
great.
it. We'll make you come through with that. Thank you very much.
We'll do it.
Appreciate
no problem.
$100 there for Fisher House.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939. You're listening to the WMAL Fisher House Radiothon. Call to donate, 888-294-8560.
Yeah, call in just like Patrick in Arlington did, $300 donation. Patrick, by the way, is a West Point grad from 1969, class of 69. Says, want to tell Larry he's looking forward to beating Navy on the 13th. Well, you know what, Patrick? As a graduate of West Point, class of '69, that means you got sent straight to Nam right after graduation, and you are a bit of a bad dude. So I'm not going to mess with you. You know what? I'm suddenly now rooting for Army on the 13th because I don't want to get on the wrong side of Patrick. Joining us right now is Ken Fisher. Ken's uncle, Zach Fisher, is the man who started Fisher House back when he saw the need. And now Ken, as CEO of Fisher House Foundation and chairman of the board, keeps that Fisher name going. Ken, always great to talk with you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your uncle? And I know that it started with the Intrepid, right? The Air Force, the carrier that's now in New York City that's become a museum of World War II and Navy aviation. That's how your uncle started with the military, but then he saw this need.
That's right, Larry. He started in the late 70s. When he found out that the aircraft carrier Intrepid was going to be decommissioned and then scrapped. And he thought that a ship with that kind of history deserved to be preserved. And so he worked tirelessly with the Navy, then with the city of New York, which in itself is a major undertaking. Yeah. And the Intrepid came to New York in 1981, and then it was converted and opened in 1982. Prior to the pandemic, we were receiving 1 million visitors a year, and that number is rising again. So soon we'll be back to that number. But and I'm also chairman of the Intrepid. But out of that, Zach was so enamored with what he had done that he wanted to do more. And then the story of Pauline Trost, the wife of the then chief of naval operations, called him up and made him aware of another need, that there was this basic yet underappreciated need where families had no affordable place to stay when their loved ones were receiving treatment. And Zach said, I'm a builder. I can get an architect. I know how to build a house. And Fisher House was born in 1990.
Wow. Talk about a great American who sees a need just time after time, dedicating his life to saying there's a need, I can do something to help, and I'm going to do it. That's incredible.
And you know what I love about it is he's like, oh, well, houses, I can do that. That's what I do. Yes. I'm a builder. And now, Ken Fisher, this year you celebrated the 100th Fisher House. What's the future look like now for Fisher House? Because I realize you think about the age of people who participated in the War on Terror, and there's going to be a pretty significant VA need, I would think.
Yes, that's true. You know, Fisher House does not fluctuate. The need for our program doesn't fluctuate. It's constant. First of all, you've got veterans that are aging a bit, but they still need the program. They get follow-up treatment through the VA, and that's where the program has done predominantly most of the houses over the last 10 years. But there's also a terrible suicide issue among veterans. A Brown study showed that a veteran was 4 times as likely to take his own life than to die on the battlefield. So Fisher House is pivoting this year, and we went to and partnered with an organization called Reason for Hope, which explores alternative ways to combat suicide and the causes of suicide, and it's aimed at helping their families because they're the unknown variable in a suicide. We think about the person, obviously, that committed suicide, but there's also a family that's being left behind that's scarred. So we're working very closely now with this organization. We still have our Hero Miles program, which moves veterans back and forth, their families back and forth. We are up to like 70,000 tickets through that program. We still are building houses because there are still VAs that don't have a Fisher House or that need a second one. So we are very proactive. We've always been that way. We don't sit back and rest on our laurels. We're working with the VA and everyone else, and we are solving problems.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've done is so amazing about Fisher House is you meet the need in the time of need. And you guys are so, I guess you're able to be flexible in that way and move in that direction. And I love that you just touched on the military families who need the support, certainly after a tragic incident with their loved one. But what happens in the houses when they're there so that they feel supported and a sense of community in what can otherwise be a very lonely caregiver's life?
Yeah, Cassie, that's very important. What happens in the house is not just about lodging. Mm-hmm. The families create this support system, and it goes through every house, regardless of the size, because they've grown throughout the years. But this support system, the families share the joy of the good days, the sorrow of the bad, but they rest on each other, they counsel each other, they help each other. And that is the lifeblood of the program, is the fact that it's not just about the houses, but what happens inside of them. Mm-hmm. That sense of community is so important. It starts with the Fisher House manager and goes through the volunteers, and it's just been amazing.
And by the way, we haven't even touched on it yet. We're only at 7:24 this morning. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours, and we haven't talked about the incredible support you give to the Warrior Games and the Invictus Games and all of the adaptive sports that they start out as part of the physical therapy for these wounded veterans, but they end up being, a way for them to channel their warrior ethic into these competitive sports. And so they're still representing the country. And Fisher House is right there for them during that as well.
Well, we're family-oriented, Larry, and, getting involved in adaptive sports seemed like a logical progression for us. Back in 2012, when the Department of Defense created these Warrior Games, it gave the warriors, the wounded, a sense of purpose, a goal, something to work for. They became competitors. They weren't wounded warriors anymore. Now they're competitors. And their families, when Fisher House gets involved, obviously we see them at their worst. Now we see them cheering and smiling. So for the staff of Fisher House, it's so important for them to see the fruits of their labor, what happens, after they leave the Fisher House. And that was just a great and very inspiring way for us to expand.
We could go on and on, as you know, Ken, about all of the great things your organization does, but sadly we're up against it here. But I just want to say again, thank you for honoring WMAL and all of us here who work at the station to allow us to be affiliated with your great organization. And thank you for the great leadership you provide.
Well, thanks. 23 years, $12.5 million. You guys have been amazing to us. Our expansion started with WMAL all those years ago, and the momentum is just carrying on. So all I can say is thank you to you guys, and thank you to your listeners. It's been an amazing ride. I hope it never ends.
Same here, ditto. As long as I'm here, and as long as and the whole team at WMAL. Ken, thank you, and it really is. It's humbling, and it's an honor to be affiliated and participate in this. And I'll tell you, listen, a lot of people. It's easy to say how patriotic you are. It's easy to say how much you support the troops. It's easy to give lip service to it. But, this is where the rubber hits the road, and this is where you actually show it and demonstrate it. And we couldn't think of a better way to help honor our military and their families than doing what we do every year with Fisher House. That's Ken Fisher, and it's time for you now to show us what you got. 888-294-8560. Let's let the whole nation know exactly what WMAL's family can do. And you are our family, and we really appreciate it. 888-294-8560, WMAL.com. American soldier J.P. Lane suffered a devastating injury in Afghanistan, and Fisher House was there when he needed it most.
And as soon as my truck got on top of that IED, the guy pressed the detonator and flipped my truck onto the right side. Both my legs were amputated, but I had no idea because my uniform was still on and it was just bloody all the way down my pants and stuff. I had no idea that my pelvis snapped in half, my spine dislocated from my pelvis. Because I had so much internal injuries, I actually died twice on the operating table. The Fisher House truly shined in my life. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna try not to cry. There's a very, very sweet lady who was always there for me. I was extremely depressed every day. I would leave my room. She would make me smile and wish me a blessed day. She would just bring so much joy into my life when there wasn't anybody else there.
Fisher House takes care of our heroes because a family's love is good medicine. Learn more at fisherhouse.org. And give a call to 888-294-8560. I've got a brand new total, but I'm going to make you wait for it. Keep it here, 888-294-8560.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington. Supporting our wounded warriors and their families. The Fisher House Radiothon continues on WMAL, a Cumulus station. News now. Now, the WMAL Fisher House Radiothon continues. Please support our wounded warriors and their families by calling in your contribution now. 888-294-8560. That's 888-294-8560.
7:37 now as we continue our WMAL Fisher House Radiothon, and I promised you a total. I'll get to it here, but first, this is where the back and forth begins, Cassie Smedile. It's game week, and I asked Navy to step up. We got $300 from a West Point grad, class of '69, saying that he said something about how Army is just they're gonna wipe the field with Navy. It was bad. It was trash talk. Well, how about this? Jim, Navy veteran from Columbia, Maryland, $1,500. $1,500 right there. And he's in Columbia, so he's like right down the street from where the game's going to be next Saturday. Mm-hmm. And he, of course, says, go Navy, beat Army. And then David from Fredericksburg. David donated $1,000. He's retired military and retired FBI. God bless you, David. That brings us now to $44,529. Boy, we started with nothing at 5 a.m., and we're already up to $44,529. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. All right, let's talk about peace, shall we? You know how President Trump, when he does a rally, he always comes out during. They play "God Bless the USA." Mm-hmm. You know, they're going to have to start playing that because something absolutely remarkable has happened. I never thought I would see it. The U.S. Institute of Peace, you know, the big building down there near Foggy Bottom,
yes.
down for the giant architecture there.
It's quite a
I can't say it with a straight face. The U.S. Institute of Peace has now been renamed. It is the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace.
All over the world, libs are crying in their coffee. It's so good. He is the peace president. It makes perfect sense.
It's hard to argue with his first year's success here. I mean, here's Marco Rubio talking about one of the big deals that was made this year.
One day, perhaps the entire story will be told about the events of yesterday, but suffice it to say, it's not an exaggeration that none of it would have been possible without the President of the United States being involved.
That was the Israel-Hamas deal. He's still working on Ukraine. That's but I think he's timing it out, you know, so that it can land, you know. Right. I'm thinking a Christmas announcement. What do you think?
Maybe that'd be great. But this is my favorite. Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace reopens in president's name after he dismantled it.
Well, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that part of it. It's true. Doge kind of, you know, it's back. Undid the Institute.
Well, they weren't doing their jobs. Now that he's done their job for them, he can reopen the building with his name on it. He's such a troll.
It is a great troll move. But it's also, again, honestly, if you look at the major peace agreements from this year, the Gaza peace plan, obviously, Armenia-Azerbaijan peace agreement, the Houthi ceasefire, that's huge, by the way, the devastation and the murderous mayhem going on there. The Rwanda DRC peace accords, and I don't know, wasn't there also a Singapore Thailand peace agreement?
Thailand, and wasn't there something in India?
Yeah.
That stopped the India-Pakistan war?
Guys, I mean, so anyway, the State Department made the announcement yesterday. It is no longer the Institute of Peace. It is the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. And his name is already on the side of the building, by the way. They've already got it up.
So good. You know, it's around the corner from the Kennedy Center. You know that's next.
Yes. Although it is fair that at the time of the Doge restructuring, White House spokesperson Anna Kelly Oh, no. This is a new statement. Said that the former institute, before Trump came over and sort of restructured the budget and got the Doge wrecking ball in there to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, Anna Kelly called it a bloated, useless entity that blew $50 million a year while delivering no peace. Now the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, which is both beautifully and aptly named after the president who ended 8 wars in less than a year, will stand as a powerful reminder of what strong leadership can accomplish. So here's the question for anybody who wants to be president next year from the Democrats or from in 28. Question number one is always the most important question. Can a man get pregnant? They got to answer that question. Question number two, will you reverse Trump's policy on the border and bring us back to the Joe Biden policies on the border? Every Democrat nominee needs to answer that question.
Yes.
And thirdly, will you remove Donald Trump's name from the Institute of Peace? I want to know what they say to that. That's and we'll be
Those
watching.
are the key issues on the minds of all voters. All three of those.
Congratulations to the peace president, Donald J. Trump. It's 7:42.
You're listening to the WMAL Fisher House Radiothon. Call to donate 888-294-8560.
Yes, and listen, I'm overwhelmed sometimes, obviously, Cassie, when we hear these incredible stories and the families that are helped with Fisher House. But then I get doubly overwhelmed when I see the generosity of the WMAL family here that we've, over the years, created such a bond with. Get this, we've got some incredible donations that I want to draw to your attention. David from Frederick donated $1,000 in honor of all the veterans in his family.
Awesome.
David in Virginia. Cassie, David in Virginia just donated $4,500.
Oh, my gosh.
$4,500 from David in Virginia. And, David, I would love to shake your hand one day for that one. Mary Ann from Alexandria donated $1,000. Now, let's first pause on that.
Yes,
$1,000
amazing.
from Mary Ann in Alexandria. Her husband served as an airborne ranger. Ooh. And has always had great things to say about the Fisher House Foundation. And she wanted to give $1,000 from her family. And, you know, it's not easy this time of year.
Right.
First of all, you know, everyone's talking about affordability, and it's real. I mean, inflation is still not easy. It's still not great. We're still recovering from some terrible economic policies in this country and from the pandemic. And so for a lot of families, money is tight. And then you get into the end of the year, and you've got your own Christmas purchases to make for your families and stuff. And it's, you know, to see families in this area, you know, opening up to the tune of 4 figures for Fisher House, it gives you hope in humanity, frankly.
It's incredible. And it's such a great reminder that is the heart of our country. This is the heart of America. Americans are such good people who respect our military and our veterans and our military families. And it's just awesome to see. I'm just a puddle over here, Larry.
I know. The tears flow. 888-294-8560. I also want to tell you quickly, we were, at this time of our program, we were going to have a conversation with a gentleman named Gregory Quarries. Now, he is a retired Army Ranger on his 8th deployment to the Middle East. This Army Ranger suffered a gunshot round to the head and an IED injury simultaneously. He spent years in recovery, stayed at Fisher House, his family's benefited from staying at Fisher House. He now is competing in the Warrior Games. He's competing internationally in the Invictus Games, representing our nation.
Amazing.
At the highest level of adaptive sports. I tell you about Gregory because, sadly, we've been trying to reach him, and it turns out I just got a message that he woke up this morning with a terrible, terrible migraine, understandably, considering the injuries that he is still suffering from, and he could not join us this morning. But knowing that these heroes continue to suffer from the injuries that they sustained in combat, and knowing that it never ends, and the need for Fisher House will always be there for them and for their families. It just reminds us how important and how valuable your donations are. So please, if you could, in the spirit of what Army Ranger Gregory Corries did for our nation, if you could please just donate whatever you can, 888-294-8560.